Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 has got some news that you guys do not want to miss out on. As you guys know, the game is actually set to release in 2022, sometime in likely holiday season, but the news that we just got might have confirmed that that might not happen. We might actually not get Breath of the Wild 2 this year, and it pains me to say that because Breath of the Wild is probably one of my favorite games of all time, and I've been dying for the sequel ever since it was revealed originally. Hey, what's up everyone? Wes here. Welcome back to the channel. And to get started, today is officially Pokemon Day, and with that, we got the reveal of the next generation of Pokemon, Generation 9, with two new games set to release at the end of the year, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. Now, there just so happens to be another big game that could be releasing at the end of the year, that being the sequel to Breath of the Wild. But with Generation 9 also releasing in holiday season of 2022, does Nintendo really need another big game like Breath of the Wild 2 to secure their revenue for the end of the year? The answer is probably no, but that doesn't mean it won't actually happen still. If we look at the current lineup that Nintendo has slated for the rest of 2022, it is looking absolutely stacked. There's games that already have release dates. There's games that don't have release dates like Breath of the Wild 2. The only way that I see Breath of the Wild 2 releasing this year is if we get some sort of reveal trailer and release date during the normal summertime direct that we usually would get sometime around E3, which will likely be June of 2022. If we take a look at Nintendo's slate for the rest of this year, they've got Breath of the Wild 2, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. They've already had Pokemon Legends Arceus release, Triangle Strategy, Mario Strikers Battle League, Fire Emblem 3 Hopes, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Splatoon 3, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Mario plus Rabbids 2, and so much more that is yet to come with the E3 Direct for this year. Now, does Generation 9 releasing in 2022 affect the release date for Breath of the Wild 2? It very well could be. I have always said, ever since Breath of the Wild 2 was initially announced, I said we're not going to get that game until the next Nintendo Switch, or as the internet likes to call it, the Nintendo Switch Pro, which at this point is kind of up in the air because we still have no idea when that machine is actually going to be releasing. Now, if Nintendo decides to repeat history with Breath of the Wild 1, then there is a strong possibility that we don't get Breath of the Wild 2 until next year around March and have that release alongside a brand new upgraded Nintendo Switch. But at this point, it's kind of copium. Now, what I will say is Breath of the Wild 2 has been in development since 2017, and they're working on an engine that they've been working on for years. I'm sure this process of creating Breath of the Wild 2 has been a much easier process than how it was for the original game, because they're not having to recreate assets. As you guys can see from the trailer, there is some assets that are reused, and it's similar to what we've seen Nintendo do with Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, which obviously released 2 years after the original Ocarina of Time. So far, Nintendo's had about 4 to 5 years to work on Breath of the Wild 2, which is quite a long time, but I can easily see Nintendo waiting and releasing Breath of the Wild 2 until 2023 because the slate is kind of open. If we look at all of the juggernaut games releasing this year, there's Horizon Forbidden West, there's Elden Ring, there's Pokemon Generation 9, there's Starfield coming out as well, and they really don't need another game. Nintendo's revenue is pretty much already secured, with the Nintendo Switch OLED kind of carrying them for the rest of this year, as well as Pokemon Legends Arceus, Splatoon 3, Bayonetta 3, as well as the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack that they're getting boatloads of money for, which will be featuring DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that we've been asking for a while. Nintendo has pretty much got 2022 in the bag, so that's why I could easily see them delaying Breath of the Wild 2. Now, do I want it to happen? No, but what Shigeru Miyamoto said is a delayed game is eventually good, a rushed game is forever bad. So I think Nintendo is going to take their time and make sure that Breath of the Wild 2 is the game they want people to play that goes even more above and beyond with what they did with the original Breath of the Wild. Now, it could be that Breath of the Wild 2 is indeed ready and they're gonna release it this year, which would be absolutely mind-blowing for me, because with that game being confirmed, it would make 2022 probably one of the best year for video games of all time. Now, with all of that being said, the question still remains, when is the release date for Breath of the Wild 2 gonna be? Now, if we take into consideration that Breath of the Wild is not actually delayed and it does end up releasing in 2022, I think we're looking at probably an October or November release date. They will 100% want to make sure that Breath of the Wild 2 releases before the holiday season. If I were to guess, I would say that they'll release it in November, sometime around November 4th or November 18th. They don't want to take the November 11th day because that's when Starfield is releasing. So Nintendo is going to want to make sure that they dominate whatever day they do release it. Not that there's much audience crossover from players that are going to be buying Starfield as well as Breath of the Wild 2, but it should be worth considering, especially whenever you consider the fact that Americans like our Bethesda games. Now, that also raises the question is, when are we going to be getting Generation 9 for Pokemon? In my opinion, I think Generation 9 will likely release sometime in December, likely in early or middle December, because they did say on the announcement that it will be releasing in late 2022. Now, if Breath of the Wild 2 is indeed delayed, one thing you do do have to consider is the fiscal year of 2022 ends for Nintendo in March of 2022. So they can still release Breath of the Wild 2 in March and still have that hit their numbers for the 2022 calendar year. Now, if Breath of the Wild 2 releases in March, then I can easily see Generation 9 for Pokemon releasing in that November time slot. They were pretty successful with BDSP in November of 19th, 2021. So that's why I could see Generation 9 filling that time slot as well. But either way, regardless if we get Breath of the Wild 2 this year or not, 2022 is looking absolutely stacked for Nintendo fans and just gamers in general. I cannot wait for all of these new games to be releasing, and I will be sure to keep you guys up to date with all of the brand new information regarding Breath of the Wild 2, as well as just general Nintendo and gaming news. Guys, catch me on my live stream every single day at 8 p.m. Central Time. The link is in the description, twitch.tv/WesNemo. Hope to see you guys there. Thank you for watching this video. This has been your boy Wes, and I will talk to you guys on the next upload.